I love spinning it like that. I totally forgot that I loaded that. In this video, I'm gonna show you how you can take a cheap Nerf gun and repaint it into something that looks a lot more professional for whatever costume you're using it for. I'm hopeless, awkward, and have no clue how to present myself to anything but a camera. That sounded so wrong. Oh my god, no. Hey, what up guys, my name's Miles, and you definitely knew that already. That's why it says Miles under the video. I already used that joke in the last video, but I honestly could not think of a better bit. Yeah, I say that they're bits, but they're really not. It's just my awkwardness. Like, I don't script any of this. You guys just see the full raw awkwardness. And trust me, you're getting the best cut of it. Like, I cut out a lot of random stuff that is just not feasible for most human interactions. It's definitely a good way to catch your audience. I'm hopeless, awkward, and have no clue how to present myself to anything but a camera. That sounded so wrong. Oh my god, no. It's October, which means it's Halloween. I've been celebrating Halloween probably for the past month, but kinda on my own. I've been planning these videos, kind of scheduling out how I wanted to go about October for our content. If you saw the last video, the one that we posted on October 1st, I kind of gave a basic breakdown. If you want to see what we're doing for the rest of the month, feel free to check it out. This is going to be the first Halloween-ish video. The reason that I say ish is because you can kind of do this at any point in the year, especially for cosplayers, but I know that everyone's building their costumes right now for Halloween, and there's one person out there looking for how to do this. I got you. Don't worry, I've always built my costumes late too. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can take a cheap Nerf gun that you can find at Walmart, Target, Meijer, or Amazon, wherever you want to buy a cheap Nerf gun. My goal is to keep this video as cheap and on the budget as we possibly can, spending as little money as possible to turn this into something that looks a little bit more real and something you can use for a cosplay costume or just a prop in general. I love spinning it like that. I totally forgot that I loaded that. You know, it came with darts. I just forgot that I loaded it.
Alright, so the first step we have to do is get this thing ready for actual paint. A lot of Nerf guns have this bad habit of having this very shiny plastic on it, and paint is not going to stick to that whatsoever. We're going to have to sand it down, use some sandpaper, and get rid of that. We also have to sand off all of this legal mumbo jumbo, telling you to like not point it at your friends or shoot it at anybody, or basically do anything fun with it. To get rid of all of this raised text, because as cool as that font is, I don't want my Nerf blaster saying Commander, and I don't want it saying the Nerf logo. Now this one does have a bit of a challenge. This is not raised text down here, this is actually indented text. If you really don't want that font there, there's a couple ways you can go about doing it. Number one is you could take a piece of Sintra plastic, cut it out to this shape, and glue it on, and you'll have another layer over it, and it'll cover it nice and flush. The second is to take sandpaper or a Dremel and actually dig into it so you go down to that orange surface. Third way is to take some sort of filler like Bondo Putty, Mod Podge, whatever you want to do to fill it up, and you can actually fill in those letters. I wanted to list them to give you the options, but I'm going to be honest with you, I personally don't care enough to fill that in. I don't mind having it there, and I'm also not personally using this prop for anything, so I don't have to get rid of that. But if you wanted to get rid of it, those are a couple ways you can do it. Anyway, let's sand that stuff off. You got that raised text off. Normally what you would do now is hit the whole thing with some sandpaper and take it outside to prime. But this Nerf gun's a little bit different, and some you're gonna run into this issue of they're a little bit more intricate, and they have a couple moving parts that you gotta make sure that you're painting correctly. So this looks like it's gonna be one of the situations we have to take the blaster apart. We gotta take off these moving pieces. Definitely the slide rail we have to take off. Because you got to get through every one of these pieces and paint this entirely by itself. It also has a rotating mag on the inside. I'm pretty sure some Nerf aficionado is going to tell me I used that term wrong, but whatever. But let's take it apart, put the stuff we don't need to the side, and we'll just take the shell out to paint. Dude, I swear, over the years, they've just gotten so much more advanced. They really don't want you taking their shit apart. I'm getting desperate here. This is both the strongest and weakest Nerf gun I've ever dealt with because it doesn't want to come apart, but anytime I feel like I pull, I think it's going to snap. The thing is, I would brute force tear it apart, but I don't want all the innards to just explode and fly everywhere. So that was interesting. That was fun. I don't know where that piece goes. That's not good. Okay, another piece flew away. I'm going to go on the assumption that this is not going to be put back together very nicely. What we're going to do is we're going to hit everything shiny with a quick sand job. You don't need to see me do that. You know how to sand things. I'm going to go outside and hit it with a primer. My personal choice is Rust-Oleum 2X Black Gray Primer. You can use whatever primer you want. I always stick with Rust-Oleum, the 2X. Alright, the round of primer went on very nicely. Next round is we're going to hit it with just a simple ultra matte black, just to give it a nice base coat before we start throwing on different colors and different details. Okay, excuse my mic quality. Right now it's charging and I just got home. But I let these dry for about 24 hours just to let that matte black sit in. Now it's time to add on some more layers on top of that. I know that I want to do some red. However, except the red spray paint, which I was initially going to use, I failed to realize that this says gloss on it, and I hate using gloss paints. Much more prefer matte finish. I don't want a gloss finish. So this is rendered pretty useless to me. You can see how sweaty my hand is. I just got home. I apologize. That's gross. Good idea, Miles. Show him your sweaty hand. Yeah, so this is rendered useless to me. I'm going to have to exchange that for something else. You have red airbrush paint, but I also know that red does not go on top of black paint very easily, so I'm going to have to do a layer of white. Essentially going to use a method of taping off the areas, repainting it with different paint colors and different paint methods, and I'll explain it all either afterwards or when I do it. So a slight detail that I noticed here is if you look right there and a little bit here, it looks like the paint is corroding on itself, and that only happens when two paints don't work very well together. But the reason I'm confused is I've only used this brand, Rust-Oleum, for all three coats. I haven't used this exact can, Ultra Matte. Maybe that was the issue. That's a no-no, that's bad. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it at this current state. I'm just gonna let it cure and see how it looks. If it's not super bad, I'll just paint over it and hope to God it works. That's good. A bit of a change of plans with this paint scheme. Initially, like I said, what I was going to do was paint this white and then apply on a red paint on top of that because the red doesn't go on top of the black, so I'd have to do the white. An unfortunate thing kind of happened when I was painting that actually turned out in my advantage, and I'll explain what happened. When you mix paints, a lot of times they will work together, but sometimes they don't. See here, right there, that paint starting to bubble up and chip and all throughout here? That means there is a bad paint reaction. It happened when I applied the white coat of paint. Now, when that happens, what that means is your two paint brands didn't work together, they clashed, and that happens sometimes. If you use paints that don't work together, sometimes they clash and that'll happen. But the strange thing is I used the exact same brand, so all three of the paints I used for this project were Rust-Oleum 2X brand. So there's no reason that they should clash with one another. The only thing that I could think of why they clashed is because I used this new style, Premium Ultra Matte. I'll use something along the lines of this, where it's either gloss or matte, but it's not ultra. Initially, I didn't think that was a problem. Apparently not. Putting the two ultra mattes on top of each other apparently clashed. So that's a good thing to keep in mind for the future. So initially that kind of ruined the first paint scheme I was going for because I don't want to mix on a third paint on top of two paints that already clashed. That's just stupid. Then I'm going to risk clashing a third one. I decided to do a new scheme that I had never tried before, and I ended up with this result of this beautiful multi-level steel gray that has two different tones on it. And you can see here where that white paint was clashing, which is why I had to choose it. This was my 1 a.m. discovery. This was just a shot in the dark trying to see what I could come up with, and this is the color scheme I ended up coming up with. So what I did for that is I stripped off all of the tape, went in with our sandpaper, buffed down the white, and then hit it very heavily with the graphite powder, because the graphite powder will turn that black into a gunmetal gray, but it turns that white into a steel gray. We basically have a gunmetal steel blaster, two different tones. So that's going to be the makeshift plan B method that we're going for, because obviously the first plan of the red and black didn't work. We had to problem solve and think on the fly, so that's how we're going to go about doing this. Like I said, buff it down with the sandpaper, did it all with the graphite powder, and then see what we're working with. Ideally, I would have liked to use the red to add a little bit of contrast and color in there, But for a second option to kind of problem solve, I'm happy with this, and I kind of like how that looks. It's completely different from what we planned, but you know, as one of my good friends once told me, if you're not failing, you're not doing it right. So let's figure it out. This is damn good. We're on the home stretch. I'm not going to show you it right away. I'm going to keep it kind of off to the side here just to tease it just a little bit. We're on our final step, which is one of my favorite steps, is dry brushing. Dry brushing, if you don't know what it is, it's taking a chrome or silver paint to go on top of everything for one more scratch of like battle damage. What you do is you put it on the brush, pat pat till the brush is almost dry. It's the dry brush. And then you go over and you paint over all of the high raised edges to give it like the look of raised and scuffed metal. That's what we're going to do over the whole piece, and then we are ready for the final reveal.
And there we have it. That's how you turn a Nerf gun into something that looks not really like a Nerf gun. All in all, this was an incredibly cheap, fast, and very fun build to do. Even though it didn't go the way that we initially planned it to, we still ended up getting a cool result in the end. That just goes to show that even if things don't go according to plan, or things kind of go off the rails, or something goes wrong, you can still make something work and get a result that might actually be a little bit cooler than you first thought it could. Anyway, I'll leave links to everything down below, including this exact blaster and where you can pick it up, and links to all the other supplies. Keep in mind about the paints I used and how they clashed. If you want to avoid that, don't get the ultra matte, just get the regular paints. So hopefully this helps somebody make a cheap prop in time for Halloween. This is obviously the first week of October, so hopefully this reaches people who need to make props for Halloween, or if you're watching this right before Halloween, you know what, you do you, man. I believe in you. This only took me about a weekend to do, so it really doesn't take that long. So anyway, quick preface that I do want to make. Obviously, this is a fake blaster that we painted to look a little bit more real, so please, if you're taking this out in public, if you're taking it in cosplay, costuming, trick-or-treating, whatever you're doing to a party, just be cautious, be careful, don't be stupid. If you need to, just like tape the barrel, or maybe leave a little bit of the barrel still orange. Obviously, just be careful. You don't want to go around being dumb, waving something that looks semi-real. You know what I mean? Just use your best judgment and be safe. This is obviously an educational and informative tutorial on how you can paint a toy. Don't be dumb. Anyway, I hope that this did help somebody who is looking for a cheap prop that you can make yourself, whether it's for Halloween or not. Maybe you found this video in the middle of February. If that's the case, cool. Anyway, if you do happen to follow this tutorial on this exact blaster, or maybe a different Nerf blaster, I'd love to see the result that you have. You can send it to me on my Instagram. I'd love to see what you guys do with these props and just seeing your creativity go wild. So happy October, happy Halloween. As always, peace and love, do good things, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.